Welcome, everyone, to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. So, let's be totally honest for a second. Have you ever, stared at a massive stack of exit tickets at the end of a really long day and suddenly realized that half the class completely missed the mark on a lesson you thought went perfectly? Yeah, we've all been there. If you're an educator who's ever taught a complex concept and thought, man, I really hope they're grasping this, but you couldn't quite see their understanding until that final test, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're exploring a truly transformative approach to classroom assessment. Okay, let's dive into this. We're talking about Competency 005 Spotlight, focusing on interdisciplinary integration. Specifically, we are going to look at how we can use the dynamic, physical elements of theater to make academic content visible, tangible, and completely accessible in your classroom, all in real time. To get us there, we've got a super clear, structured journey mapped out for this explainer. We'll kick things off with making academic content visible, check out the dual tag the lesson template, look at scoring with dual rubrics, hit our Day 1 implementation checklist, and wrap up with why theater integration matters. So first up is Section 1, making academic content visible. This is literally the foundational concept that grounds everything else we're going to discuss today. All right, so interdisciplinary integration, in this specific context, means using contained theater structures to actually uncover student thinking. We're talking about activities like a frozen tableau, hot seating, role play, tableau vivant, or creating a living museum. And just to be clear, we are using these structures not to put on some massive theatrical production, but to make content knowledge immediately visible and accessible. You can apply this literally across the board: literacy, social studies, math, science, even SEL. Picture this. You have your students create a frozen tableau, which is basically just a still image they make with their bodies to physically demonstrate the evaporation stage of the water cycle. Or think about hot seating, where a student sits in a chair and answers questions in character as, say, Abraham Lincoln. It totally shows their grasp of historical perspectives, right? Theater here is simply a tool. It's a structured mechanism we use to practice, demonstrate, and formatively check that a student has mastered the content in a way that, frankly, a paper and pencil just cannot capture. Our North Star for this whole methodology is this quote right here. Start with the academic text you want to measure, design a short drama task that foregrounds that academic skill, then build a dual formative check. I absolutely love this approach because it completely strips away any of that intimidation you might feel about bringing drama into a traditional classroom setting. You aren't writing the next Broadway hit here. You're just finding a new physical vehicle for the exact same lesson you already planned to teach. It all starts with the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, the TEKS, that you're already mandated to cover. Everything just flows directly from your required academic standards, which keeps you totally anchored in your curriculum while still letting that creative expression shine. Think of this like building a bridge. You aren't just teaching one single isolated concept anymore, you're teaching two complementary things simultaneously. And this brilliantly illustrates that dual approach. On one side, you've got your content objective, which comes directly from your academic texts. That's your specific academic goal. But standing right beside it is your theater objective, which is also drawn from a text standard. This is your specific performance goal. So as an example, your academic content objective might be identifying the climax of a story in English language arts, while your theater objective might be using physical space and proximity to show a change in character status. By pairing these side by side in a single lesson, the academic standard and the theater skill completely reinforce one another. Because as we know, the body remembers what the mind might forget. So how do we actually put this side-by-side theory into practice? Well, that brings us to Section 2, the dual-tagged lesson template. Let's move to and see how this builds into a highly effective, super short lesson plan. This is your micro-template for a 5 to 15-minute integration. And remember, this doesn't take over your entire class period. Step 1, you explicitly state the academic content objective in student-friendly language. Step 2, you state the theater objective. Step 3 is the activity itself, so choosing that short drama structure, like jumping into a quick tableau or setting up a hot seat. Step 4 is the formative check, where you assess them in real time. And finally, Step 5 is the reflection. And honestly, this is where the absolute magic happens. By reflecting, students have to metacognitively link exactly why their physical choice represented a specific academic concept. For instance, if a student chooses to stand on a chair while the rest of their group sits on the floor during a social studies tableau, they need to articulate that standing up higher represented a monopoly in economics. It's just 5 simple steps that transform a standard lesson into a totally interactive, observable experience. Now, I know exactly what a lot of you are thinking right now. Okay, this sounds amazing, but how on earth do I grade this?
Well, let's alleviate that anxiety right now in Section 3, Scoring with Dual Rubrics. Data collection really does not have to be a complicated heading.
So the crucial point is how simple and rapid this data collection can be. You aren't creating some massive, highly subjective grading scale here. You simply use a 0 to 2-point scoring band for the content formative check and a 0 to 2-point scoring band for the theater formative check. That's literally it. A 0 means no evidence, a 1 means developing, and a 2 means mastery. It's rapid, and it's a highly defensible classroom assessment. When you combine those scores, a total of 3 or 4 means the student's understanding is secure. And hey, if you use a digital platform like Canvas, just set up a really simple 2-column rubric because, let's face it, absolutely nobody wants to spend their Sunday night agonizing over a 100-point rubric for a 5-minute role-play activity, right? This keeps your grading targeted, fast, and incredibly effective.
All right, so we've got the theory, the template, and the grading totally locked down. Now, let's talk about execution. Welcome to Section 4, Day 1 Implementation Checklist. I want you to feel completely empowered to try this out tomorrow morning.
Here's your fast-paced, actionable checklist to get this off the ground immediately. First up, identify and write exactly 1 content TEKS and 1 theater TEKS right at the top of your plan. Keep it incredibly focused. Next, choose a short drama structure. Again, stick to just 5 to 15 minutes max. That will vividly make that specific content visible. Third, create that simple 0 to 2 dual formative check and use it for every single group as they perform. And finally, and this one is absolutely crucial for creating a safe classroom environment, include a cultural responsiveness check. If your integration involves cultural representation, historical figures, or specific communities, you have to ensure you're approaching the drama structure with deep respect. We want to ensure students are honoring different identities and communities, not unintentionally caricaturing them. If you follow these 4 bullet points, I promise you, this methodology is entirely day 1 ready.
As we wrap up this framework, let's take a quick step back and look at the big picture in Section 5, why theater integration matters. Why should we consciously shift our teaching to include this? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how beautifully it highlights the benefits for both sides of the classroom. For you, the teacher, this integration provides immediate, observable evidence of student thinking. You don't have to wait to grade a stack of papers over the weekend to know if they understood the lesson. You can see their understanding live, right there in the room, through a low-stakes, highly engaging assessment that remains strictly aligned to your text. But for the student, the impact is profound. They actually get to rehearse the academic content in embodied, physical ways. Tying a concept to muscle memory and spatial relationships deepens their memory retention, forces them to practice genuine perspective-taking, and builds highly transferable communication skills. It's just an absolute win-win for everyone involved.
I want to leave you with a question to ponder as we close out this explainer. Look at your upcoming lesson plans for next week and ask yourself, what academic content in your own curriculum currently feels invisible to you and could deeply benefit from this integrated approach? Think about those tricky concepts that students repeatedly struggle to grasp on paper, and just imagine how a simple 5-minute tableau or a quick role play might suddenly turn the lights on for them. You have the template, you have the rapid rubrics, and you have the checklist. It's time to make the invisible visible. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how you bring your classroom to life